Some of you will remember about 2 years ago, I mentioned this in a message, that we had gotten a prophetic word about a black horse that is coming. We really didn't know what this is about, and we've been praying over this and kind of pondering it since then. It's a prophetic word that was given to our executive pastor, Janice Rowling, who has a track record of 10 years of getting words and pictures that sometimes come to pass in pretty spectacular ways. So this word has a high degree of credibility to us. And the word was, the black horse is coming, prepare and remember God's law, referring to the royal law, God's law of love. Love God with all your heart, love your neighbor as yourself. Prepare for this horse and know God's law. Now, we've been feeling a kind of a sense of confirmation that this black horse is not a coming revival or anything of the sort. It's at least significant enough to mention that the only black horse in the Bible, in the New Testament, is found in Revelation 6. And it's a black horse that brings an economic crisis. The writer has a scale that's not a scale of justice, it's a scale weighing economic matters, and the people are not able to even buy their basic necessities of life. It's found in Revelation 6. Revelation, the whole book of Revelation, I would submit to you, is not just about what's going to happen at the end of history. I know a lot of people read it that way. But throughout history, and I think this is the way the book is meant to be read, it denotes patterns of spiritual warfare that characterize all of history, sometimes more, sometimes less. It ebbs and flows, but they're patterns of history. And in Revelation 6, here's the pattern. There's 4 horses. The economic horse is the third horse. But the first horse is a white horse. But it signifies Satan's victorious reign. At least he makes himself reign as though he was king. But he's on a white horse. It looks good. It looks innocent. And thereby deceives the people. Following that is a red horse of war. Then comes the black horse of an economic crisis, and then a pale horse that brings death. And these are not necessarily chronological when you're dealing with apocalyptic literature like the book of Revelation. It's symbolic, so there can be overlapping here. But this is a pattern that is more or less reflected in different times of history, and we are in this pattern. We are in this pattern. We've had the white horse reigning for quite some time, the white horse of greed, power, nationalism, and debauchery. And it's looked good, so much so that a lot of Christians actually think that it's all of God. The white horse has been riding free. And now we have the red horse where we're fighting 2 wars on 2 different fronts. And now we're in a season of a black horse, an economic crisis, and we're also in a season of a pale horse. They're saying that in the next 5 years, the poorest 25% of the people on the planet are going to be facing a catastrophic food crisis. And death is around the corner. Let me focus on the black horse for a moment here. The economy is the worst we've had since the Great Depression in the 30s. It's happened suddenly. Who could have dreamed even a year ago that the basic structures of our financial institutions would be shaking as they are, on the verge of tumbling down? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, Citicorp, AIG, Merrill Lynch, Wachovia, all on the verge of tanking. The 3 major auto industries, all on the verge of bankruptcy. The government is in a panic. That's why they're pouring almost $1 trillion into trying to prevent disaster and to stimulate this economy and turn it around. We have not, and probably in our lifetime will not see anything like this. It really is catastrophic. Now, it may be that the economy will miraculously recover. It may be that we've hit bottom and it's going to turn around tomorrow. But there are a lot of economists who are saying that is very improbable. There are some who are saying we're not even close to bottom yet. And that when we do hit bottom, the turnaround is going to be very, very slow, and we may never get back to the level of prosperity that we've had the last several decades. The word for us is to be shrewd in preparing for this black horse and to remember God's law, the law of love. This horse is a disaster economically. A lot of people are suffering. It brings a lot of hardship, especially to the poor. Many of us know folks who have lost their job. Some of us know folks who have already lost their home. It's bringing a lot of hardships. But if kingdom people of light will respond the right way, this can be used to a tremendous kingdom advantage. Everything the enemy plans for evil, God intends for good. And among other things, this crisis could perhaps finally make us start realizing that we need one another and that we need to bond together and get through this. Amen. There's a particular word to the middle class and upper class who are hearing this message. The poor tend to know that they need each other. The poor tend to have an easier time being generous in times of crisis, an easier time than the middle or upper class do. They're used to being pinched. They're used to being inconvenienced, whereas middle and upper class folks aren't. Sandra Unger, who runs the Lift ministry on the east side of St. Paul, told us about a lady in her ministry who often can't pay the utility bills and has trouble putting food on the table for her own kids. She sometimes has to use candlelight and sometimes has to find creative ways of staying warm. But still, when there's somebody she knows who is out on the street, she brings them into her house and opens up her house for them. Because as bad as she's got it, they've got it worse. And so let's just share this. And we may not have a bed to offer you, but there's a corner here that you can stay in. And we may not have really good blankets, but here's a sheet you can put over yourself. We may not have much food, but we'll reduce our portions to share with you. But see, us middle and upper class folks, we're not used to being pinched like that. And we tend to regard our stuff as our stuff and protect it very carefully. But here's a time when the black horse, this wild horse, is riding, where we need to start asking, we need to learn from the poor and start asking this kind of question. With our family, with our friends, with our small group, we need to ask the question, what will we do if one of us loses their job? What will we do if one of us loses their home? What will we do if the car gets repossessed? What will we do if one of us gets sick and can no longer support the family? It's time for us to ask the question seriously, what does it mean for us to have all things in common? What does it mean for us to really carry one another's burdens? What does it mean for us to begin to act like the New Testament church? And see, even if the economy improves miraculously tomorrow, we should still be asking that question, because that's how we're called to live. Live lives that are independent of one another and not just autonomous and self-sufficient. Folks, the word is we need to be shrewd. The horse is riding. We don't know where bottom is. So prepare for this. Begin to act as though it is already upon us, because as a matter of fact, it is. And prepare for the worst, and do that by becoming interconnected. Be shrewd about this. And remember God's law, the law of love. Because when we open up our resources and open up our home and open up our time and talents for one another, we're manifesting the law of God. Prepare and remember the law of God. And be shrewd not just for this present economic crisis, but be shrewd in terms of the coming kingdom. Always remember that it's God's property and you're just the manager. When times get tough, the ordinary thinking of the world, the pattern of this world, the people of the world, they will cling all the harder. Mine. There's only so many resources to go around, so I'm going to hang on to my stuff for me and mine. That's natural. That's shrewd for the kingdom of the world. We're people of light. And especially during times of crisis, I encourage you to fight that natural self-preservationist instinct and to manifest light, manifest the character of God, manifest the ridiculous, outlandish blessing of God, that even when you don't know where the resources are coming, you share with those who have it worse than you. You carry one another's burdens. You manifest the law of God, which is the law of love.